Alright, setting these aside to dry. I've got my E6000 handy, and I've got my hot glue gun heated up, and I'm just going to use the E6000 as a extra support. Now, I bought rope, and I've got different size ropes, so yay. Anyway, pay attention, they're changing things up again in the rope department. I also have some that I got at Walmart that I could use, but I was trying to make this a Dollar Tree DIY. Okay, I'm going to start with my first basket. It's dry enough. And I'm going to start on what I'm going to call the back side. And I'm going to put a little E6000 on here. Just as my reinforcement. It's not going to be my main glue. And some hot glue. So my rope goes into the E6000 and into the hot glue. And I'm going to make sure that it's down at the bottom. Now you want this to be as straight as you can possibly get it. So use your table as your guide if you need to. This is really hard to show you. Just do little sections at a time. Letting it rest on the table to keep it straight. I'm just kind of pushing down on the inside of the basket. I just want a nice even finish here. I'm going to put a little more E6000, and we're going to move along with the hot glue. Okay, when I get back to where I started, I'm going to let it harden for a minute. I'm going to take that very first piece, and I'm kind of cutting it away a little bit at an angle so that this fresh rope that I'm coming around with can nest into it without making a big mess. It's kind of a 45-degree angle. There's a piece of tape on here I forgot to take off. But you just want to kind of shave that first rope down just a little bit so that the second layer can nicely move up there. Make sure that you get plenty of glue right there, and bring your next rope over the top of that glue, and then don't try to go any farther until you've got that bond nice and smooth. Okay. Remember, there is E6000 there to hold that as well. But I've got a nice smooth joint there, and that will be working to my benefit. Okay, now I can pump some glue on there and take the time to make this straight and to pinch your runs of rope together. That irritates me so much when I see people, they do these beautiful projects, but then when it came time to put the rope trim on it, they didn't take the time to really frame out their piece with the rope. It gets me with the pizza pans, especially when the rope is all wiggly up against the edge. It's like, okay, a little more glue and 1 more minute of time, and your piece would have looked so much more finished. Okay, see how that's looking? I'm making sure that when I'm pumping my glue on, that I'm getting a little bit onto the rope on the first one so that it will stick together. Take your time on this and make it nice. You'll be happier in the end. I'm going to add a little E6000 to this run as well, only because E6000 is more flexible than hot glue, and this is a flexible basket. It's not what I was really wanting, but it's what I've got to work with, so it's what we're doing. Feel free to stand your basket up and really work those 2 pieces of rope together. Take the time to do that. This would also look cute in a nautical themed room, bathroom, or whatever, to hold toilet paper in the bathroom. That would be a good place for it. Okay, I'm just putting some random dots because I'm getting to the end of this piece of rope. Random dot to be 6,000, and then running my hot glue up to that, not letting them touch. Really stretch that rope tight. If you hear anything crackling in your glue, that's your 2 glues mixing. Oh, I just need a little piece. Darn it. Here's my bin of small rope pieces. Now the fun part begins, trying to find a piece that is the same thickness as this one. It's pretty close, a little darker in color. Not this one. That's better. I just keep all my little bits and pieces. Alright, so I'm going to cut my rope at a 45-degree angle, and the same on the piece I have to splice in. And I'm going to go ahead and glue, pulling it tight. And I want to make sure that my longest side of my 45-degree angle cut, I hope that makes sense. I want the longest side to be on the bottom on this piece, because that will just make it easier to piece the other piece on. Okay, so I'm going to make sure this is flat down, and I'm going to make sure that I've got plenty of glue holding that cut edge. Okay. I only have to go from there to there. Irritating that it ran out that close. I hope this is long enough. Oh, this is going to be exactly the right. Okay, then I'm going to put some glue on my 45-degree angle cut onto all of the strands, And I'm going to match up my cut with the rope that's already there. Okay. Doing my best to make it look like one piece of rope. You can't even tell where I spliced it. It's right there. Okay. Actually, it's right there. Proving my point. It's right there. You can't really even see it. Okay, so come back. Add a little E6000 under there, just for security. And then, because this is the end piece, I'm going to do little bits at a time. And then I will show you how I'm going to. When I say I cut this at a 45, I actually don't know if it's exactly 45. I cut it at the angle of the twist. So I cut right along the twist mark when I make a cut. Alright, so now I'm coming to the end here. And just like down here at the beginning where I shaved the rope, I'm going to do the same thing again. And then I'm going to get the rest of that tape off of there. Okay. I cut that the wrong direction. I want that to curve down. Okay. Cut off these little fuzzies so I can see what I'm doing. Alright, so I have my cut on the twist, and I'm going to make sure that the longest part of the cut is on top, and that will bring it all together. First I'm going to put glue on all of the ends, and then I'm going to glue onto the basket, and then use your silicone fingers or a popsicle stick if you. My fingers are so shot from so many burns, I don't think it matters for me anymore. Alright, so if you can see that, it just kind of sloped it and blended it in to the other rope so it doesn't look like it's so thick. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 here, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 here because I started here and I ended here. And that's going to be the back side of my basket if I'm hanging it on the wall. So this is what the front is going to be looking like. Okay. Now, I want to get really fancy. I think I do. I'm going to cover this as well. So I'm going to go ahead. I don't know. It's probably going to use a lot more rope than that. And maybe I will do the whole thing and maybe I'll just do part of it. Not 100% sure yet. So I'm going to come over to where I started before, and I'm going to kind of try to blend it in. So I'm going to cut my rope, and I'm going to blend it right there into that same initial cut. So it looks like it just continues on. That is why I was working so hard to make sure that this was flat onto the table, so that when I got to this part, if I decided to do this part, that it would be great. Because I just don't like the blue down here on the bottom. You could paint that if you would rather. Totally not an issue. Okay, and then I'm just going to wrap this, making sure that it's touching onto the row before it. Alright, so now I'm back where I started. Make sure you get that anchored in there. I'm going to put a little E6000 in that spot. Okay, so now there's like a little lip here, and we're starting to drop down into that little lip. So do your best still to get that rope touching the rope before it, but it's just going to be a little bit lower as we hit into that lip. Go ahead and let that rope slide down into the lip. Just make sure that you're also attaching it to the piece before it, the row of rope before it. Okay. Take the time while the rope is, while the glue is soft, to adjust. Sorry, it's a little hard to show everything I'm doing here. Coming to the end of this rope, I'm going to cut it along the twist like I did before. And I'm putting the longest end on the top this time because I don't want to spend another $1 doing the bottom of this. So I'm attaching it in as its final spot. Okay, so this is what I have. Okay, that will look better on the wall than having a whole bunch of blue showing, and it gives it a little give there. Alright, I'm going to use this clothesline rope. You can get clothesline at the Dollar Tree. This one's from Walmart. Or you can use the Walmart Nautical rope in white. Or you can just get the brown and do the brown at the top as well. Okay, I just wanted this to have a little different color. You know what? I'm going to finish the bottom of this with the white rope. I think that will look kind of cool. It'll incorporate both ropes into the finish. Make sure that you get your end adhered because this clothesline rope will unravel if you don't. It just is kind of picky. And when I come back to where I started, I'm going to make sure I push down in there just to make sure that there's a good seal between where the two ropes are. Ouch. Use your silicone fingers. I just can't find mine. I've still got a small pile of stuff to sort through over in the corner. They're probably in there. But there comes a point where you gotta stop cleaning the craft room and you gotta start using it again. Organization will happen as I get time, but this is spring break and this is Friday of spring break, and I haven't gotten in here to craft nearly as much as I've wanted to because I've been busy cleaning. So, yeah. Covering the bottom with rope is just kind of a, I know it's there, so I want it done kind of a thing. I'm not being as particular with the white rope as I was with the brown rope about getting it to where you can't see the blue at all, because this blue is just stronger than the white. It's wanting to show. So we're just going to have to be okay with that. Alright, be careful. This is the last pass, the last bend, so I went ahead and put the glue in, but it's really hard to get that last fold into the rope. It doesn't really want to do it. And then you're going to cut your rope at 45. Make sure there's plenty of glue in there. Use a popsicle stick or something pokey if you need to. And really get that in there. And get that glue onto those ends. And then push those edges together over the end of the rope. And you'll have a nice finished piece. Voila. Okay, there's the bottom. And I think I would like to run white up to the edge of the handle. But first I gotta get all this glue off of my fingers. I'm going to make sure I'm starting on the back. And I'm going to try something here. I'm going to put a little bit of glue onto the edge, and I'm going to fold this over and glue it. And then I'm going to trim all of the fraying part. And then I'm going to put a little more glue, not a lot, just a little. And as it cools, I'll pinch it down and kind of sculpt it a little bit. That way I'll have a nicer looking beginning. It'll be on the back of it being hung up, but sometimes things end up not being used for exactly what you had planned them to be used for, so it's always good to plan ahead. All right. Glue that on. Little E6000 hot glue mix. And I'm just going to put a little bit of glue right up along the edge here. Stretch that. I'm worried about this one because of how flexible this basket is. So I don't know how well this is going to work. But we shall try. Suppose you could wrap it. But boy, howdy, would that take forever. And it would be a pain. The first run is always the hardest because you got to get your rope straight where you want it without making a big old gluey mess. And the tip I have for you for that is this. Put your glue on. Just do little spots at the beginning. Pull your rope down below and then scoot it up. And if there's any extra glue, it'll get caught on the rope and scoot up with it. So, hacks from a messy crafter. There you go. I could do a whole channel on that. Whoops. I just dripped glue. I need to unwrap some more rope. This spool of rope was about $3 or $4, I think, at Walmart. You can get the nylon clothesline. This is cotton, but you can get the nylon clothesline at the Dollar Tree. I just forgot to grab it, and I don't want to go back to the store. You can also get different colors of rope at the Dollar Tree now. I think it's called parachute cord or paracord or something like that. I saw green and red. So, a color for every thing you could imagine. Alright, so I'm coming back to where I started. I'm going to glue that in as best I can. And then come up and around. Be a good place to put a bow if you were wanting it to be decorative. Alright, now we can move along a little bit faster. Squish that rope together. I'm going to go one more round around it. Right now I've got 3, and I think I'm going to go with 4. Okay, I'm going to be very careful to get just a little bit of glue if this is going to be my last run, because I don't want it to show. I don't want it to ooze up on top of my rope. So make sure that you really put it down on the piece on the row before it. Actually, I think I'm going to go one more after this, because that'll take it right up to the edge on the sides. So that will be good. Okay, so I'm going to do this row and one more, and then we'll call it quits. One more run. Now be very careful with the glue this time. For sure, because I'm not coming back around again. Scooch them together, make sure they're tight. Try to put the glue more onto the rope than onto the basket, because this is your last go round and you don't want a bunch of glue poking up over the top of your rope like I just did right there. If you get that, wipe it as you go. And this brings it just about up to the lip of the plastic basket, and there's not room to go another go round. So this will be good. If you had a fine point, oops, sorry about that. If you had a fine point glue gun, that would be a good time to use it. Would be on this project. You'd use a lot less glue than what I'm using right now. I'm really going through these glue sticks. Alright, coming back around to where I started. So I'm going to cut my rope, and then I'm going to fold it back like I did originally and put a little glue there. Just because there's like a rope inside of the cotton there, and it's framed something fierce, and I don't want that to come all undone. So I'm going to clip out all that fuzziness and then get it all off of my gluey fingers. So here is my basket. Now I am contemplating one more thing. I'm going to glue this inside of here, just kind of encasing all these rough little frillies. And this might end up being more trouble than it's worth. We will find out together. I'm just putting glue on the front as I wrap it. It's really hard to show. So I'm going to put a glob of glue there. And I'm going to wrap that. And the glob of glue is still showing, so I'm going to wrap it a second time. Then I gather up the end and pass it through. So I'm going to wrap this 3 or 4 times, and then I'm going to put the glue on. Okay, just keep your coils straight so that you know which one you're pulling on at the time and they're not overlapping. On this one, I honestly don't care if the blue shows through a little bit. Kind of okay with that. Okay, I'm going to gather up my string, and I'm going to, oh, I didn't glue this one down. my string, and my rope, and the wrap. Okay. Keeping my coils straight. Gather up my rope again. And wrap, wrap, wrap. Alright, so that's, I think, equal on each side. I'm going to hold that for a moment. I'm going to flip this over, cut my rope. So that was, let's see what's left here. That was 53 inches of rope to wrap that handle. Just a little trivia there. Okay, so I don't know if you can see this. I am going to lift this first one up and tuck that piece down underneath of there, and then pump in a little bit of hot glue just right underneath there and push that down. That way all of that's hidden. I'm going to try to do the same with this end. Of course, I already glued it, so it's a little harder. Just trying to make it as nice looking as possible. And I'm going to go ahead and wrap this other side like I did this first one. All right. That basket is done. All right, there you have it. My Dollar Tree basket facelift, just to give it a little extra something. This will probably hang in my craft room with some flowers in it. Let me know what you're thinking about this project in the comment section below. Do you like this idea of fancying up a basket? Would you have left the white paint off of the edges here, or do you like that? What about the two different colors of rope? Do you like that? This would also look cute sitting on the floor in the bathroom full of toilet paper or whatever. But anyway, let me know what you're thinking about this project in the comment section below. If you like it, please give it a thumbs up. That helps my channel to grow. And let me know what you're thinking. What would you have done differently? All right, this has been Crafting at Whimsy Wonderland. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you next time.